What's everybody doing out there in podcast land? You doing all right? Right on. I love this song. Not really a song, Kel, but it means that it is the beginning of What's the Matter podcast. How you doing, sweetie?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really, really well.
Man, you were.
I think you're right. I need you.
Yeah.
That never happens. I'm never.
My goodness.
What happened was I took my neighbor to the doctor, so I was already out and about.
You didn't even recognize me.
I didn't. You look all corporate cleaned up.
Yeah, I know. I got like 8 suits in the closet or something like that.
Loving the pink shirt, though.
I try not to wear them. I mean, wore them for a long time. We did the same thing, corporate structure, kind of having to get up early to get dressed. And so anyway, I'm liking this semi-retired stuff, but man, I am just as busy.
Right?
Isn't that crazy? Just as busy.
I remember whenever I would lose a job, get laid off, or end a contract.
I thought you were going to say get laid.
No.
Where are you going with this?
When I would get laid off or end a contract and before my next one would start, I would get so damn busy and I would say to myself, how the hell do I have time for a job?
For a full-time job. Yeah.
I can fill up time so fast with stuff.
We need to be.
I can't imagine working an actual scheduled job.
We
now.
need to see
the
time.
No lie. Like that is my focus right now. Like,
yeah.
What can I do right this minute to get multiple streams, multiple? I am so focused on that right now.
Yeah, we got some ideas for you.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to talk to you about that.
Sweet.
Yeah. Got to get past Friday first.
Okay.
You'll know why.
Okay.
But today, episode 40, what's the matter with enduring? And we're going to have a history thread segment, the second one, volume 2. We had a second comedian one. So I kind of like this, some of our content areas of topic coverage. We have these little themes going. But today, speaking of time, we're going to be kind of time traveling to different dates that keep showing up in curious ways on March 4th, right? So today's March 4th when we're recording this. And as I mentioned to you a little bit before the show, Kel, we're going to kind of anchor this around Led Zeppelin's song that, actually it's called The Song Remains the Same. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Song Remains the Same. So this interesting little stuff here, it was on as part of their Houses of Holy album in 1973. Mm-hmm. And it was later used as the title for the band's 1976 live film and soundtrack. Mm-hmm. And so the reason that I chose this today is because this really embodies let me do that too. I don't hear an echo like we have before, but let me do that just to make sure. Anyway, they performed in a sold out stadium 51 years ago instead of 50 years ago. And talk about a spectacle in a Coliseum.
Was it?
Well, it wasn't. This was back in 75. So yeah, I mean, this had to be back when what was that neighboring? It wasn't in Dallas.
It was like in Fort Worth or Arlington.
Arlington. Yeah. They used to have Dallas Cowboy Stadium was in Arlington.
It was at Cowboy Stadium.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
It was in Irving. It was partway in between.
Yes.
It was right there in the center of the freeway.
Actually,
I lived in Dallas for 18 years.
I could check that out.
I've been there.
But I'm just assuming that is where the Cowboys play in 1975. So.
Yeah, that was Cowboy Stadium.
Right.
That's gone now.
Yeah, pre-Jerry Jones.
World.
Had Mr. Landry, the guy in the suit on the
Tom Landry.
That was
Roger Staubach. Those were the good old days.
I did like the Cowboys. I wasn't anti-Cowboy back then. I didn't become anti-Cowboy until Jerry Jones came along. I digress.
We were like not anti. My dad wasn't. He didn't like the We weren't Cowboys fans.
Yeah.
But he loved Landry and Staubach.
Yeah, they did it the right way. Well, and then of course Staubach. He was, military guy.
Yes.
Went
a lot of them were back then, and that's why it was there was so much elegance.
So, but the reason that I kind of anchored this on this song is because the song literally expresses the feeling. What it's about is that no matter what the change around us may be, certain human impulses, for example, wanderlust is mentioned, longing, connection, memories, all these things remain constant, no matter what the change around us may be. Think about that. Wanderlust, longing, longing for happiness, longing to be married, longing to have kids, whatever.
Desire.
Having a a connection with somebody, you know, having nice memories, and those things remain constant. And in the same way, though, patterns that we're watching, which, like, again, talk about in a minute here, we don't really delve into at least too deeply political things or religion, but the things that are going on in the state of right now with different enforcements, right? Whether it's a geopolitical enforcement, whether it's a domestic enforcement, you know, with ICE agents and stuff like that. Those are patterns, right? They're part of systems. And what it does, it affects our trust. And then the fear over time transforms the spectacle that we all get this juice over, that we talked about a few episodes ago, by being able to enjoy spectacle, even if it's bloodshed, you know, and things like that. And these are the like things that, and these are the things that, Kel, that repeat over time, even though the surface looks different, right? We're 100 years later and the surface looks different, but some things remain the same. So that's the angle. You know, the title of the song remains the same isn't about repetition in music. It's about enduring human experience.
Even Cinderella had a song that's called "The More Things Change, the More They Stay the Same."
Yeah, I mean, again, there's probably multiple examples, but that's the one that I came part. I like Zeppelin. I never got to see them. I
can't stand them.
Yeah,
Robert Plant.
I wish.
Solo.
I mean, in the 70s, you know, when they were like at their apex, I probably
always
wish. Yeah, I don't know. So
I've always hated Led Zeppelin.
It was they got to me a little bit later. You know, I wasn't in. You know, I think what it was is like, you know, for the most part, we liked American rock and roll. You know, so even Queen, as great as Freddie Mercury was, I didn't really, I guess, appreciate his talent until like later, like in the 80s.
To me, it was just the sound different. I was into more melodic and lyrics that made sense to me. Like a lot of 70s, 60s, 70s lyrics make zero sense to me.
Well, Robert Plant, he was kind of
Led Zeppelin.
They're kind of a wailer, like a whine.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you hit that falsetto stuff, and I hope that stuff didn't hurt people's ears.
It was good though. That was actually right. That was quite close.
There was a little bit of the swan song there.
But and people were so into them, and I like anything that a large group of people are just so into. I tend to go the absolute opposite direction.
Yeah,
that's why I've never seen any of the big movies. I've never
sheep, but
I'm the contrarian.
I like it, and I like to think that I'm like that also. So we have that in common. But different decades, different headlines. We're going to talk about these things, but but the song, right? So as we proceed through this, the song that remains the same is our human condition. So keep a hold of that.
Yes.
The song that remains the same is our human condition.
I like it.
And because it just repeats its motifs. And so let's give a quick sponsor shout out to World Matters Incorporated up front, sponsor of the show here in the beautiful Matterhorn studio. It's not a ghost thing. There's a lot of stuff going on here earlier, but it's that time of the day where things are winding down, but also creator and producer Big Bongo Productions. And we always give a shout out to 93.7 FM and their family of shows right here in the Reno Tahoe area. And so, as mentioned, we are not really going down. There's going to be some mentions, of course, to some political instances and events, but we're not going down that trail as far as like critiquing and stuff like that too much. Again, we want to explore how the exact same human instincts, systems, these emotional dynamics, how they continue to play out over time via fear. Speaking of systems, there's systems of power, the spectacle that we see from time to time, different identities and cultural mirrors. So that's really kind of like the template that we've set today, but that patterns repeat, not exactly, but rhythmically. And if you listen closely, you're going to start to hear the beat, right? That's what we're here for, Cal. So as we often do, let's start, instead of going 25 and back, this time let's start 100 years ago. Okay, so March 4th, 1926, Cal. On this day, 100 years ago, U.S.-Cuba Convention on Alcohol Smuggling, right?
Yep.
So back then, 1926,
yes, speakeasy era.
You've got
Prohibition.
You know, you've got
8 years in at that point.
Shine and stuff. It's a time to be alive. 1926. And just imagine how they were feeling. There's cars. They don't have to ride a train anymore.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Horse buggy.
The Roaring 20.
We have never
Clap
been
our
here
hands.
before, people. You know,
Sure.
people are having sex like
Art
crazy,
Deco.
right?
Yeah. Oh,
You know,
yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
they still didn't have condoms back then. I don't think so.
Oh, yeah. They,
No.
sure.
No, it was back then. Some guy, maybe it was
Sheep.
the substrate.
Sheep.
That's what it was. It was the buckskin
were-
rubbers.
They were made out of sheep.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Sheep
and then
intestines.
and then I saw it on the History Channel. The guy that actually came up with the
condom
news.
concept.
Yeah, you know, they were after him. They did not, because he kind of did it under the radar as far as like the regulations and the system in place and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, right. You know, the gatekeepers. Yeah. So anyway, fascinating story.
You
but not
think
what we're
men
talking
would have been
about
all
today.
over it?
Man, I don't think men cared. It's like back then, just like, hey, you know,
That is
we got the rhythm method going on. That's my deal, right? So, but anyway,
Because women didn't.
on
want
this day, the
much.
United States signed an international convention with Cuba addressing the enforcement of alcohol prohibition rules. So to make sure they're on the same page, including boarding Cuban vessels. You know, do that anymore. You know what I mean? At least we don't know about it. And anyway, they're boarding these things to stop alcohol smuggling. Now, why it matters now is look at what's going on. It wasn't that long ago. We went to Venezuela, you know, different pretense, but the song remains the same.
Oh, please.
Right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And so this may be softball stuff here, but this moment reveals a pattern, you know, that's still with us. Basically, governments, societies tend to react to human behavior with force while not understanding the root conditions that create it,
Yes.
or admitting
No question.
that.
Ask questions later.
Yeah.
That has been our policy.
And so it's been interesting to watch this stuff. And so whether you're talking about South America or what's going on in Iran right now, we, as I think the American taxpayers, we've kind of seen this before. And our concern is that we don't want our boys over there in harm's way for any kind of extended time over someone else's shit, right? Like it's like in a perfect world, everybody'd take care of their own business. We'd live harmoniously with each other. There's plenty of food for everybody here, right? But there's always people that like to be in power. Always. It's always like that. So the point here
you need a certain layer of that.
For sure.
The problem is when it gets into control.
Right.
Power and control are two different things.
Right. Well, and yes, and also where their best interests are then focused on themselves instead of other people, which is why they're put in that position.
Right.
Right. Is to focus on other people. I was listening to some local politicians today, and we were talking a little bit about before the show, and it doesn't matter whether it's local, state, federal, you know, there's a training that they go through as far as like
an indoctrination.
What they say, how they say it, deflection, don't stick your foot in your mouth and all
Media
that
training.
stuff instead of being authentic. And that's, you know, where our current president, and sometimes, put it this way, most of the time, the populace, the person, the candidate that the population likes best from a populist standpoint, they get smashed. Eventually, they just get destroyed, you know, whether it's from money, being outpaced, you know, from a contribution standpoint, and then they get more advertising, they can make the other person look bad and all these different things. It's
How
it's
people
really
don't
difficult.
see it by now is what makes me crazy.
Right. Well, because
It's the
again,
same exact thing happens every time.
every time.
The good candidate rises up, the asshole comes in, they throw money at it, and somehow they win. Everybody you know wants the other guy.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Why have we not stopped voting yet?
Stopped voting.
We all
I
need
haven't
to
thought about
stop
that.
voting and then see what they try to tell us. If we
Let's
could
talk
organize
about fear.
en masse, even just one area.
But let me ask you this. So like, okay, so let's go down that rabbit hole. So if we all stopped voting,
Mhm.
it's not realistic that the entire population would not vote.
Oh, it would.
So it'd
We
be
can't
like a
get on the same.
revolution.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We can't get on the same page just to have like a shop out day where nobody
Right.
leaves their house and
Exactly.
you know, withholds the money.
That's what I'm saying. But
Which
if If they did, right? I think in our system, correct me if I'm wrong, but ultimately it's not the voters, it's the electoral college. So they could theoretically still have
That's
that in
probably
place.
what would end up happening.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, so
They
but at the end of the day, again, you know,
But
call
that's
me cynical. It's like it's the dog and pony show, you know. So if you have a good time, because again, here's why I vote, because it's like Santa Claus, right? I like, that'd be nice if this were true,
right.
and so I'm going to play.
Yeah.
I'm going to play.
Sure.
You know, I'll go play. I'll you know, do my quote civic duty.
Yeah. I vote locally. I don't do nationals anymore.
Yeah. You know, and so. But you know, I hear and feel exactly what you're saying here. So to continue down this path here about the alcohol prohibition, and so just consider that when laws don't match actual behavior, right, and the environments, the markets adapt to that. For example, our good friend Ed Alexander, we've had some really great conversations with him about the, you know, of course, thousands and thousands of years and millennia, you know, you got this plant, you know, that are indigenous people and cultures from all over, you know, the earth didn't, you know, suffer at all or anything like that. Nobody was getting like hurt, you know, from it. And yet
it was actually,
we got 100 years of them criminalizing, which created a black market. And that's where the systems adapted, right? Because there was no market. It was just, you know, hey, this plant here, they grow it in these different cultures or whatever. But what happened is that when they came over into the United States, you know, there were some white people that didn't like it. They didn't like it in like 33 or something like that. It was in the early 30s. The
1934.
Marijuana Tax Stamp Act was the first criminalization, you know, of that plant. And so, of course, we're not talking about that specific plant, but whether it's alcohol prohibition, whether it's marijuana being criminalized or anything like that. The point is that the markets adapt. Now, here's a stat. I think I have it later down here, but of all the drugs in the world, illicit, legal, and illicit, what's the percentage of illicit and illicit drugs in the world that are consumed by America?
Geez, what percentage?
Of all of them, all of the licit and illicit drugs that are moved and consumed through the world, what's the percentage of them that come through the United States?
Oh, 85.
80%. Good job.
85. Yeah. Easy.
80%. We're a bunch of freaking druggies, man.
No, we're the beta testers. This country has the genetic signature of every other one combined. They run the shit through us first to see how we react to it and see what they can get away with pushing out to the rest of the world. We are the beta testers for the system.
Well, I mean, that's certainly a conspiratorial angle right there, and I can't dismiss it. Oh, there it is. Yeah, 80% of illicit. That's a U.S. Consumer Report. Crazy. Maybe that's not U.S. Consumer Report. I may have just put U.S. Consumer, so you guys don't take that to them.
Not Consumer Reports that I've seen.
So, but so even the point is, 100 years ago,
Cartel is
right? So,
and cartel better than.
But 100 years ago, right? So we have these, like, you know, cartels that are formed. You know, these black markets grow because human behavior. It's not going to disappear. It just gets rerouted, right? Seriously. And so, if a law doesn't fit the lived reality, people always find a way around it. So systems respond to this, but not always in proportion, but definitely in a pattern, right? You follow that? So if a law doesn't fit the lived reality, in other words, so people are going to drink, people are going to do drugs,
absolutely.
right?
You can write as many laws as you want.
Thank you.
And but it's like squishing water.
They're going to find
people
a way around
will.
And then, it doesn't work. And then what happens is when these black markets are formed, right, which is the system responding to the lived reality of people, it's not always in proportion. And a great example of that is, again, how many people, millions and millions of families that were affected because of prohibition, millions of families that were incarcerated because marijuana was made illegal, right? And so that's the system that responded with it being illegal wasn't really in proportion with nowadays. Of course, there's more understanding. Orange Man is even reports, and it's until it happens, it ain't going to happen. But talking about getting that off of a Schedule 1 classification, which would be great. And so, Kel, why don't you comment on this statement? Okay, we've talked about this before. Human behavior evolves slowly.
Yes, it does.
But the systems that we all live with in this world, systems react, and then the consequences ripple.
Oh, no question about it. No question about it at all. And where you see this the most is in all of these grand predictions, like the Elon Musk 5-year bullshit. Everything he puts out. Oh, in 5 years, we'll all be. All these grand proclamations of, making laws. By 2035, we'll all be driving electric cars. Bullshit. Yeah. That's such bullshit. There's going to be different administrations in between there. It's going to go back and forth and back and forth. Nothing, humanity doesn't change hardly at all, really. Right. We adapt to what's going on.
Song remains the same.
Song remains the same.
Yeah.
Our bodies, biologically, have not changed in 200,000 years, 300,000 years. I mean,
not too much.
Not much.
Yeah.
Not much.
We're
Evolution is very slow.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of the things that we see are really symptomatic of the crap we're putting in it. Those aren't evolution. It's not evolution. It's not changing.
Yeah, especially in the last 30 years, the crap we've been putting in our
like all these predictions of now that they've like the telepathy tapes, and now you're getting
what is that? Telepathy tapes.
The telepathy tapes was this thing last year where all these nonverbal autistic children were allegedly telepathically transmitting information between their parents and all this stuff, and it's not true.
Is that like what was it called? Remote something?
Remote viewing?
Yes.
Similar.
Okay.
It's in the same psi vein. Okay. And so all this whole thing came out with these telepathy tapes. Oh, these kids, blah blah blah. It's always been debunked. Like that, they've been working on telepathy for decades.
Right.
And every time when they test it with the boards, with the parent or whoever in the room, it works because they can signal. And when you separate them, it fails every time.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And so what it really is hyper-developed subconscious signaling and transmitting and receiving between parents and children, but it's not literal.
What about like in law enforcement, the instances sometimes where they'll have somebody they can't,
like a psychic?
Yes.
This is something different. That's something different.
Okay.
By telepathy, what I mean is node to node communication with no
like
verbal interaction. Not necessarily mind reading, but mind like being able to send and receive information between your minds. And
that would be scary.
Exactly.
No.
Well, here's the thing. There's a big thing in the spiritual zeitgeist right now about trying to develop these abilities, and we're all going to be telepathic, and blah blah blah. It's not evolutionarily beneficial. Right. There's no reason for us to be telepathic. We actually evolved out of it. Back before we had language, people were able to communicate through gestures and mental.
Interesting take.
We moved away from it. We don't need it because we have language and we have facility for this now. So no, we are not going to be telepathic in 5 years. It's not happening.
So you're saying that we potentially used to be telepathic, and then now it's more of an audio thing that is something that we need, or is it something that
it's not? We don't need it. We don't need it.
We don't need what?
Telepathy.
Yeah, telepathy.
It's not more efficient.
Yeah,
it's not more efficient.
I would have to say, if I think about it, it would be scary.
It would be so scary because, first of all, how do you differentiate between signals?
Who it's coming from?
Exactly. So, I mean, we are the methods of communication we have now are so much further.
Why did she say that?
No,
is she on her period? These are things I'd be thinking about.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's it. And it doesn't work that way. I mean, it has to be a concentrated, pretty much thing for it to even come close to being real. But you'll get anecdotal, I knew who the phone rang and I knew it was my mom. Like that kind of thing.
Right.
So, okay, and it starts to make sense. But really what it is, it's just subconscious signaling that your body recognizes, that makes us think because we can't necessarily explain it or trace it.
Yeah.
No.
Interesting.
years.
So we didn't think about it, but when we were kids, of course, alcohol was legal, but we did, we have lived through and still, live through prohibition rules.
Oh gosh, yeah.
For
drugs,
for different things. Yeah. And so, well, let's see. What do I have next here? Oh, yes. It is that time. Bottom of the first block. I think what we're going to do. Oh, yes, I did set up something. I think you're going to like. Wait. I always do. I was on the cricket. There it is. Let's see. No. Oh, I didn't put it on. Gosh. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Kind of like that.
That's cute.
Yeah. Just something for the laughing cricket section. Make sure that we're got everything in place here. All right. You ready for the first one? So today I was like, okay, so what topic am I going to kind of joke about? And so I'm like, okay, well, since we're dealing with the song remains the same, let's just do it about music, rock music.
Okay.
Kind of anchored around Led Zeppelin. All right. Now, so first question, speaking of rock band, so Aerosmith, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So did you know that the rock band Aerosmith, they actually wrote a Chinese cookbook?
No.
Yeah. You know what they called it? Walk This Way.
That's cute. That's cute.
I like it. I like it. That's not even a dad joke.
That's cute.
Speaking of dads.
Steven Tyler would like that one.
Right?
He really would.
So I found out in my internet research, we found out that there's a guy, like when he's at work, you know how you have your earbuds in and stuff like that? He only plays rock music at work. And then everybody found out that he had erectile dysfunction. Yeah. You know what they called him after they found out? Since he only listened to rock, they started calling him Limp Bizkit. All right. Well, short and sweet today. I only got 3. So in the early 2000s, right? We didn't even know each other then, but I went to Japan on this holiday because I had this super, super close online Japanese friend, remember Guitar Hero?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got like really close, like playing this thing all over the place. And got to make sure that the music, I'm in the mood with this music on. I got to keep the music. So anyway, back to Guitar Hero. So we arranged in Japan to finally meet up, right? And all this time, Kel, I thought he was a guy. But when I meet this person, it was a really cute girl. Like she had short brown hair and easily like a 9 out of 10. She was hot, right? And her name was Now, spelled Nao. And even though it was the first time we had met in real life, we got along super, super, super well. And she told me that I said, why didn't you just tell me that you were a girl? And she's like, well, because I have to pretend to be a guy online because I want to talk about rock music, but people won't take me seriously if I'm a girl. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of silly. But she apologized. And I said, hey, I'll accept your apology on one condition. And she's like, what's that? And I said, we're going to go home and we're going to play Guitar Hero here in Japan. So we went and started playing Guitar Hero, and it was kind of crazy. She laughed and we agreed, and she had a great smile, by the way. And so we went to her apartment, not for that, Kel, but she real quickly opened up her PS4, put Guitar Hero on, and she was super high level, like higher than I was, but we played anyway, and somehow I won. And I guess I just got lucky or something, but man, she turned off the game, immediately started sulking, didn't speak to me. And I was like, God, I don't want our meetup to end like this. So I tried to motivate her. And then before leaving, you know what I said to her? I said, hey, Now, you're a rock star. Get your game on. Go play. All right.
That's cute.
Oh.
That was cute.
Well, gosh darn.
Yeah. I love.
Wait, let me do that again. All right. Let's move on. Okay. So we had a little fun there. So now, Kel, 75 years ago, we called 100 years. So March 4th, 1951, the U.S. Treasury and the Federal Reserve announced an agreement that would shape modern monetary policy. And so this signaled a structural shift in how government finances economic powers interact. Now, why this matters now is this wasn't just this technical agreement made between these two entities. Talk about the Federal Reserve. That's a big system, right? U.S. government, that's a big system. But 1951. So you're talking, what is that, 7 years after the end of World War II, 4 years after the treaties and everything were kind of in place and acted and stuff like that. And so the point here, comment on this, is that big systems tend to grow and centralize power during times of pressure. So right now, there's a time of pressure. You know what's going on.
They create times of pressure so that they can escalate it.
That's exactly right. And so often, without
Never let a crisis go to waste.
Well, without wide public understanding. And so to end it, and you comment on this, this is basically pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Exactly. And you realize that that was a complete dissemination of exactly what was going on, The Wizard of Oz. That's not a children's entertainment show.
That's why I brought it in. Not everybody knows that, though.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and there's different theories, you know, about that. I mentioned the Federal Reserve. That's there's some people that theorize that
TIN, tax identification number.
Oh,
you never heard that?
Not that.
Oh, yeah. That's what the Tin Man stands for. Oh, gosh, yeah.
I like that. And does the Scarecrow represent the population? Because he has no brain?
No.
I know the man behind the curtain was supposed to represent the Federal Reserve.
Right.
At least that's one theory.
I forget. I used to know the breakdown, but the Tin Man, like when you point that out to people, they're like,
yeah, I never heard about that, but I totally agree. But this kind of a point that people learn, especially the herd, after the fact of how these systems shape their economic lives. So in other words, once the damage is done, it's too late. You know, and you really don't have any choice, except then, of course, the politicians just complain and bitch, you know, about things and point fingers and all that stuff.
Oh, the Scarecrow represented the farmers, of course. The farmers, because it was agricultural back then. Tin Man represents the, taxes.
Okay.
And
maybe we'll do a show on what's the matter with Dorothy.
That'd be an interesting breakdown.
Yeah. I like because I told, well, here's the thing. Again, knowing somebody that's related and eighth cousins to like everybody in Hollywood and politicians and stuff like that, he himself says that there's some evil stuff, you know, that goes on. Just because he's like related through bloodlines doesn't mean that he.
Who's this?
Just a unnamed friend.
Oh, of yours.
Know, high school. Back, you know, he went to Navy. Security.
And he's related?
Yes, to multiple. And so he has alluded to the fact that, and we've talked about this before, that let's say even the Wizard of Oz had to be paid for, right? And so what they like doing, some people, I think you said they're required, you know, to do it, is they have to tell us the truth. They have to put it right in front of us.
That's actually not really, that's not true. That's not true. That became kind of like a spiritual, like, when they were inflating the New Age movement, they kind of put that in, but that's really not true.
Well, let's talk about that. So what made that statement plausible to me is that we have quite a breadth of movie history now. So like we're talking about something that's almost 100 years ago with the Wizard of Oz.
It's just predictive programming. There's nothing like demonic or spiritual or occult about it.
Well, maybe not.
It's simply
but what I'm saying is that I could believe that the people that have the power, whether it's satanic or all that stuff or not, that there are probably a few people that are sick enough where they, again, put it right in front of our face.
Oh, there's no
where Their eyes are wide shut.
Of course.
And they make fun of us.
But it's not for spiritual reasons.
No. Yeah.
There's absolutely.
Yeah. Like
absolutely.
Hunger Games.
Sure.
Perfect example. I love that.
Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
And modern masculinity.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. You know, like when I've never seen an episode of it, but when I first saw the premise for it and some of the storyboards, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Are we seriously going to bring this back? Mm-hmm. Like, do you guys really think this is going to
bring what back? What are you referring to?
Traditional gender role.
Traditional gender roles.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you mean like the guy goes out and makes
and she, yeah.
Like you're talking Leave It to Beaver shit.
Only
even
from
further?
17, 1800s.
Oh,
like the original medieval.
Oh,
you know,
like that.
Yeah. Hey, that the heavy patriarchal.
Yeah. Now, what made you think that?
When I first saw that, I'm like, they're modeling this It's Handmaid's Tale.
I got you.
Male domination, women submission bullshit. You know, the woman stays home and raises the, you know, all that crap.
Right.
You know, that gender suppression crap. Yeah. And when I first saw when they were first floating that it was coming, I was just like, oh, just what we need. Yeah. You know, and it's clear what they're doing, especially now with the explosion of the manosphere and red pill and, you know, the Andrew Tates of the world.
Right.
You know, and it's clearly not working, but it was like a last ditch effort to try and corral women again. And we're like, good luck with that.
Yeah. Right.
Nice try.
You guys are out.
We are out.
So let me ask you this. So why does think of the word fear. So why does fear enable these powers to expand their system? Even ones we hardly notice until after they've already been shaped. Like everything's done by the time people pick up on it, and then
because fear dysregulates the nervous system, and when our nervous systems are dysregulated, we cannot act. There's no coherence. You know, you'll get little pockets of it from time to time, but when they have the mass ability to dysregulate an entire population of 350 million people at one time, there's nothing we can do unless you within yourself can regulate.
Right.
That's what I teach. That's the crux of everything I teach as a coach.
Yeah.
Central nervous system regulation first.
But what I'm asking though is how come, well, maybe again, just the dumbing down thing, but how come we can't see the architecture of power until it's already built? Like, why does it take us so long?
We can, and we scream at those of us who can see it, the 20% of us that can always see it, but scream our fucking heads off and nobody listens.
And you're categorized as crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, remember the video, God, it's probably been 10 years ago. This guy was like, almost like, for some reason, I don't know if it was from mud or whatever, but he was like all black. Like, and he is on the corner with the sign, you know, talking about just the Illuminati and, you know, the whole currency thing. It's a scam over mankind and stuff.
But
and like,
that's
typically
the problem.
People look at the person that may be speaking truth, and because of the
spectacle of their appearance and the expression, you know. But then there's those of us like us, you and I, who are here having rational, clear discussions, stating facts,
right? And
people will refute us
and saying like, just what if? Like you can't, you know, like it's not out of the stretch of imagination, you know, by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, here's the thing. Comfort is a trap. Our bodies are built because of survival. Our bodies are built to try and like trap we perceive it as a trap because we want to do other things, but our body thinks it's protecting us by causing these fight or flight reactions to make us wake up and see what's going on around us. Well, when you're in constant fight or flight, your discernment is shot.
Right, yeah.
And you don't even realize you're in fight or flight. You've never heard of the cortisol effect or whatever. Right. And what happens is it hits women and we collapse. That's what's happening right now. Women are hitting perimenopause and menopause, and our bodies literally cannot take it anymore. And
so explain that. I know what menopause is, but did you say
perimenopause? It's
pre-menopause.
It's the hormonal changes that start before actual menopause, before you stop bleeding, and stop
menstruating.
Yes, pumping eggs, and so so many of us we're seeing it now because of the patterns. So many of us that's where all this late neurodivergent diagnoses are coming from, and we have been holding structure so hard and so long, and our bodies are hitting a point where literally we collapse. We can't take it anymore.
So what has to happen for the people and the powers that be that make the structures to stop doing it? Will they?
No. It benefits them. Why would they stop? It's up to us. We are the ones who have to go. We are the 99%. We have to learn to recognize the signs and signals of what they're doing and take it within ourselves to learn how it affects our body, why it affects our body, what's happening when it affects our body, and how to counteract it. Mm-hmm. It's easy to do once you know. It's not easy it's simple, but not easy to get into the habit. But once you do, you can't go back.
So would it have to be something to where there's this mass communal exodus somehow, and then where are they going to?
It would create that. What we're trying to do is create this layer of information and practices where we teach people how to do this within themselves first, and it automatically
and just
exponents,
and then it's like
exactly
type of
thing. You get that kind of, they call it the quote unquote 100th monkey effect, which didn't really happen, but that where you get that collective energy where there's information about it. People are posting, hey, I'm doing this. Hey, I took 10 breaths today. Hey, I did the box breath. Hey, I did Tai Chi. I did. And then you get that collective, hey, if it's working for them, maybe it'll work for me.
Right.
But it takes time. But once you see it actually working for people, then you try it and it works for you. That's when you got it.
And that's health stuff, right? So that would be easier than to say a revolution against the U.S. government.
Oh, absolutely. Right. Revolutions don't really work. If you look back in history, they're not very effective.
Right. Most of the time.
Just like public protest.
Yeah.
We don't need that. Nonviolent civil disobedience and personal regulation and responsibility. That's all we need. And it really doesn't take much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but like one thing it does take, though, is for someone to be willing.
To be willing.
Yes.
And the problem is most people have never been there. So they don't know. It's an unknown to them.
Right.
So they're rooted in their identity as they are now, and somebody's telling them, no, you need to go over here, but they've never been there. They're going to be like, oh, well, how do I get there? What's the route? Where's the map? What's along the way? What do I, all these questions start coming up.
Right.
But when you've been there, fallen, and need to go back, that's when it really roots. That's what happened to me. I was there at one point. I fell. I got real sick. I mean, just life piled on over 15 years. And I hit menopause, collapsed, got sick, almost died. I mean, like just the whole spiral. And you're seeing this. Like, people. Oh my God, this friend of mine, just all of a sudden we thought they were perfect and everything was great. And then all of a sudden they're in a divorce and she's in the hospital and he's doing that. That's what's happening. It's physiological collapse, but it looks like something else. So people are like start shying away. They get afraid. They think it's going to infect them, and then you're abandoned and you're isolated. So then you go through this compression phase of who the hell am I? What am I even doing here? And if you do it right, you come through that into who you really are meant to be in this world.
Shared like a 20-year period of time, which is a big chunk of them.
And that's the key.
Yeah.
It takes all of this. There are so many detrimental programs out there right now acting like you can get one session, quick fix, break through that does not work. Yeah. Yes, you can have the informational mental breakthrough of like, oh, okay, now I get it. But then you have to integrate that into your behavior. That is not
for the long term.
Right. And that's why I am a coach. That to me, that's coaching. Yes. Is when you can catch somebody in that phase and go, okay, now let me walk you through this because you can't do it on your own. You can do it on your own. It'll take you 10 times longer. You'll go down the wrong, it'll be a much worse path. You may still end up at the same place, but if you let somebody walk through it with you, it's much, much, much faster and it sticks.
So comment on this takeaway and we'll get into the next session. So again, on this one right here with the Federal Reserve and again, kind of taking a fear situation. And then that's when they're going to kind of compound things and then pile on with their centralized power, during times of pressure.
Sure. Well, the fear has multiple effects too. Yeah. They put the fear out there. It dysregulates us, so we can react instead of respond. And then they come in with the solution.
Well, so comment to this takeaway in this section right here. I put down the systems that we're bitching about. The systems expand disproportionately to the human awareness.
Absolutely, because what you get scope creep. You start out with, oh, we're going to solve this problem, and it sounds great to everybody. Yay, here's how we're going to do it. Here's the plan, blah, blah, blah. Every single project always suffers from scope creep. Every single one. It's you don't know. I mean, you put a project plan together based on what you know up to this point.
Forecasting.
But But then reality sets in, and things are going to change. There's going to be contingencies, dependencies. Just you have to know how to adjust. And that's the problem. Like, the $1 billion stadium in Las Vegas. Yeah, that cost $7 billion when it was finally finished.
Whoa.
Like, that's the kind of thing that, like how people don't see how that happens every single time. All of those, just the stadiums are a perfect example. Every single one of those was brought in with a plan and a dollar figure. Every single one exceeded it. Jerry World is the only one that's paid for. Yeah. The only one. And the only reason for that is, had it gone south, he could have written a check to cover the balance. But they did it right, structured it to where the profit was able to take care of it. But that's the only one that is successful out of all of these brand new stadiums.
Yeah, everybody's always getting burned. And then they move. So on March 4th, 1976. So 1976, I don't know if you remember, but that was bicentennial. Like
I was in Philly for the bicentennial.
And the Olympics, if I recall. So March 4th, 1976, 50 years ago, song remains the same. There was a Senate vote. I don't know. God, it bugs me that every one of these things that came up on this day, it seems like there's always something, that was just kind of political. So anyway, but the Senate voted on
problems. I mean,
the Senate voted on contested election results. This is 1976, not 2001. 2000, I should say. So Senate voted on contested election result on March 4th, 1976. The Senate narrowly rejected a resolution to call into question a Senate race result, clearing the way for the certified winner to take office. And why this matters now, just again, we see there's continual allegations of election fraud, rigging. You got this SAVE Act that has not been put on the Senate floor yet. But I think that, again, it's just one of those 80-20 thing. Anybody that is, a legal citizen here, it's not a big deal, to show we show our ID for so many things, to show an ID just like, hey, before I vote, here you go, give me my paper, see you later.
I don't understand why that's not a Band-Aid.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. The only reason, to not like that is like if you're doing something wrong. You're trying to hide something. You're doing something unscrupulous, or you want to kind of have the door open or something like that. That's the only.
Why would you not want that? Yeah. Like, it's your vote is public information, so it's not like you're obscuring anything or hiding. I don't understand why that has never been like from day one.
There's some silly thing about it's going to married women that have a different name. It's just like it's called a marriage certificate. Like that's it. Like that's what you take to. Like
if you have an ID and you go to the voting booth, there you go.
40% of the people have a passport. Okay, well you don't
need a passport. And the bullshit about certain minorities can't afford driver's licenses, $24. Come on,
that's insulting stuff.
Then make it free. Give them if you have under a certain income, it doesn't cost you anything. That's not their problem.
But in regards to this, so, again, we could go down that rabbit hole. It's not what the show is for. But this isn't about, say, back then, it wasn't about who won. It's about how societies resolve disputes. When the stakes are high, when they're real, when people doubt the process, when, you know what I mean? When things are like that, how do we resolve the disputes, right? It seems like now, again, it's just like, oh, if you support that team, then you're stupid, you're an idiot. It's just always dismissive on these identity politics or whichever jersey color that you're wearing, instead of saying, okay, so let's just break this down, right? And so there's a way to empirically find out if there were some illegal votes. And anybody that doesn't...
It's been done.
That's what I'm saying. Anybody that doesn't want to do, what does it say? What are they saying when they don't, or even when it's going to court? Like there was like 80, like even in I think the 2020 election, right? So there was like 80 something.
Robert Beatles here locally, hundreds of thousands of dollars, has clear evidence, has taken it to the Supreme Court of the state, and they will not hear the case.
I think that was brought up today in the meeting.
He works very closely with them. He's a direct descendant of Benjamin Franklin.
Here's the question. So how do we keep trust in the systems how do we keep trust in systems alive? How do we keep the systems alive?
We don't.
When half the room feels unheard. I mean,
why are we keeping them alive? Why?
Well,
They need every single one of them needs to be questioned, audited, and either taken away or
in this case, say we're talking about elections. So you're not saying that we need to have one,
of course.
And so we need to be able to elect them. We want to elect them, not somebody else, right? Like we want to elect them, not somebody else.
Right.
And so with the current system that's in place, we have to keep some system in place to be able to count the votes. Right. How do we keep the trust in the system? That's the whole thing.
I mean, there's multiple. I mean, do it the way they do in Europe. They still hand count.
That's what I'm talking about.
They still
that paper ballots. Like, seriously, why not? Especially like now we have this thing called recycling. We could actually recycle the paper if we really wanted to, Now, what about this? Systems are only as strong as the confidence people have in them. And that's a human issue.
Oh, very much so.
Right?
I mean, systems, all systems is people, conglomerations of people.
Right.
I mean, we talk about these
we can
things
have
like
technology systems, but
that's true. But there's still people that run that.
Exactly.
I mean, it's, a system is, like anything, like a government, a company. We all talk about, the government, those companies. Those are all just groups of people in concerted effort to accomplish something.
With the workflow, a system, they have that system in place. Now, how do systems fail? Right? Because it's not because of bias, but because is there some sort of communication breakdown?
Oh, absolutely. Sure. Absolutely. Different, systems fail because of differing priorities, differing, economic situations, internally and externally.
Right.
The pressure it's a 360.
Sometimes they fail because of ineptitude.
Sometimes the market shifts and what they make is no longer necessary, no longer relevant. It's trends, trends change. There's any number of reasons a company can fail. And now with AI, they can fail overnight. That's getting interesting. And I mean, just look at the shift between OpenAI and Anthropic.
What's Anthropic?
In 2 days, Claude.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Anthropic's the company that runs.
Does they do some subtle things a little bit better than the other person?
The LLMs do things different.
Yeah.
Like they're all better for certain things. They all, quote unquote, do the same thing as a large language model, but they have different personalities, if you will. They have different things that they're better at.
Claude's better.
Claude's good for writing and
I was going to say for like education stuff, educational material and content.
And Claude, Anthropic, the company is made up of ex-OpenAI employees that mutinied against Sam Altman.
Wow.
So this is much deeper than people realize.
That'll be on a show. Now, why is procedural trust essential to social stability?
Because if people don't believe in the procedures, it's chaos. They won't follow them, and it'll be anarchy.
So an example is our court systems, right? If you break the law, there's some things where you get a hand slap. There are some things you may go to the pokey, for 30 days or whatever.
And then you have the distinction of the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And you get people that,
skew it. For sure.
Which we need that flexibility. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, we can't do everything by the book. We can't.
Yeah. No.
Like laws are made not to be broken, but to adapt.
Exactly.
There's
like murder is illegal.
Right.
But if you kill somebody when you're defending yourself or others, then it's okay.
Exactly.
So that's the easy explanation there. Now, what happens when people see just disagreement and they see disagreement as illegitimacy? Talk about people like that. Just because you disagree, they're just like, those are shit.
Those are low effort, low information people. Those people
they're all over though.
Tell me about it. But they're lazy. They don't want to think. They don't want they don't want what they have constructed for themselves disrupted. And it's a wiring thing. That's actually neurological. People that double down on stupidity, that's actually a wiring thing. That's a hardwire.
Yeah, and it comes into, again, just a lot of things, self-esteem, because they can't be wrong.
Right.
They can't be wrong.
Because that threatens. That's an internal threat. It's to fight or flight. It's survival. It all comes back to the central nervous system, no matter what you're talking about.
it's like, there's, man, I tell you what, it is very, like, I don't know if empowering is the right word, but I think it is. I think, to be able to say, I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I thought this, and then just leave it at that instead of having to go down this road of defending the defenseless, type of thing. Cause that's what happens is that, again, if somebody is in a heated discussion, right. And then you get them into a corner that they don't like, that's when people act out.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, it's like you back anything into a corner and it's gonna.
But instead of, that's what I'm saying, is like sometimes if it doesn't happen often, but if I am, say, in an intellectual debate or discussion, and if I get backed into a corner, there's this moment where if you don't have a retort, if you don't have something to back up any longer, your point
I give
of view,
in.
it's
Good point. You're right. Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Thanks for standing up.
Thanks for pointing that out to me.
Seriously,
like when that happens.
Is that like a maturity thing or more self-esteem?
No, that's a maturity thing. That's when you can do that, you are so know who you are enough that somebody else's energy isn't going to put you off course. So you're still okay, even if different information than you have comes in. You're in a position to accept it and evaluate it instead of just deflect it. So yeah, that's a maturity, and awareness, a consciousness thing.
And I always thought,
that's growth.
That even when they walk away, when you walk away from them, you guys separate, you go on your own way. They don't have a bad taste in their mouth about you.
Right.
So it was, and then maybe even sometimes where like in that moment that that you're right, but there's nothing that you can say.
You're not going to change their mind. So you just go, oh yeah. You just give
it up.
Absolutely. Again, that's a personal discernment, personal knowledge, and personal acceptance that enables you to do that.
Yeah. It's hard sometimes.
Right. Self-esteem does play into that.
A little bit. And it's hard sometimes because you do want to, everybody likes to win. Be right. You want to be right. Yeah.
You want to be able to feel like you've given something to someone that they didn't have. Piece of knowledge, a piece of information, but also staying open to their share.
Yeah.
A lot of we've gotten kind of into this one way thing where, we're just kind of, I see this a lot where people are just like, they just want to get out what they have to say and aren't really looking for feedback or react.
They're not really listening.
They're not really listening. They just want to
for them to finish.
They want to express.
Yes.
And then, they're not necessarily looking. I mean, you may react, but they're not necessarily looking for that. They're just trying to get out their point or whatever.
Exactly. Well, and again, so this spawned off of what happens when people see disagreement as illegitimacy. And again, I think that what if we did this, and we'll move on to the last one 25 years ago. So what if we all collectively, or most of us, did this? What if if there's a disagreement that somebody has with us, instead of us saying, oh, they're full of shit, or, oh, they're part of that group, that's why they
just
say
immediately.
If you just became curious and you're just asked a simple question, wow, that's interesting. Why do you think that? Or why do you believe that? And let them answer. And then truly listen to what they say from a matter of curiosity.
Right. Not in that, why do you think that? Not in that persecutory way.
Or because you want to put them in
because you're
place.
about to, yes.
And I think if we did that, then over time, collectively, we would just at least have a better understanding of people.
Oh, yeah.
And there has to be some bleed over, of logic, where it would be uncomfortable or not make sense, for them to go any further in their life under that flag of, if somebody disagrees with me, they're just illegitimate. Right. You see what I'm saying? There is an evolution in that, kind of practice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what I try to do is I'm not trying to be the smartest guy in the room or make sure my point gets out there or my information. Like when I do something like that, it's like if we're in a conversation and I'm like, giving somebody information, it's so that like if what they know isn't correct, you know what I mean? And I have a factual, I have better information, if you will, or I want to give that to them, certainly not to put them down or make them feel like I'm better than you and I know you don't. No. It's so you don't propagate the error.
Yes, or you don't want to.
Or look bad in another situation where somebody might judge you.
Yes, for example, here's a silly little example, right? So the word mute, M-U-T-E, when somebody
instead of
says,
moot point, it drives me nuts.
I know it did. I brought it up because that'd be a good example. So same type of thing.
For all intensive purposes.
But
like
sometimes though, people are funny because you could actually have this pure heart and say, hey, just to let you know, like you're a professional person and you're speaking in front of people a lot. And so when you say the word mute, that's improper. And what's going to happen is that
they're going to think.
And then your intelligence level and their eyes going to drop.
Yes.
And so I'm just trying to help you here.
Anyways.
Yeah.
That's where that comes from.
Anyways, that's right. You don't like that.
That's exactly why. And when I hear professional broadcasters on major stations saying the word anyways,
yes,
that makes the general public think it's correct.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. So last takeaway here. So talk about this in this segment. So trust is the substrate of every functioning system. Trust is the substrate of every functioning system. Now, you know what substrate is. So it's hard for me to say, you know what I mean? Because like every functioning system, you have to trust that you're going to get the end result by the time it goes through the system.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't get, at the end of
it consistently,
if your computer crashes every time you press save.
Microsoft Word.
All right.
I remember those days.
March 4th, Kel, 2001.
Oh, wow.
Man, it's like 25 years ago. It does. 2001. We just got
pre 9/11.
Y2K. Yeah.
Right.
A couple years after Prince's 1999. And so on March 4, 2001, 25 years ago, there was a car bomb outside the BBC television center in London. Do you remember that? Kind of vaguely. I remember that, right? So now
they were doing the Irish car bomb. Remember the Irish bombings? Were big.
That's what I'm getting ready to say. So this is 20 something years after, like in the 70s, right? You got the mob, they're doing bombs. You got the IRA, the
Irish Republican Army. Yep.
That we're doing. And I think these actually, right here, a car bomb detonated outside BBC television center in London, part of a dissident IRA campaign.
It was an IRA thing. Yeah.
So they injured one person, prompting a major review of media security. Now, why this matters now is because, like we were alluding to, car bombs were once this recurring tactic in multiple geopolitical contexts. And I'll even include the mob. They're not geopolitical, but, that's, definitely stuff that we saw, in The Grandfather and all these mob movies back in the 70s.
I went to high school with kids who were made men in Nicky Scarfo's organization.
That is crazy, right? Could you imagine? I've read a bunch of stories about what you can only imagine.
I was very familiar with the East Coast mob.
So, but car bombs were a very dramatic, visceral symbol of this asymmetrical violence, right? So
think about it. Cars were such a huge part of culture at that time.
Identity.
Both here and over there.
It's an extension.
Not as big over there.
An extension of who you were.
Freedom. It represents freedom.
Right. Independence, for sure. And so today, now we barely or rarely hear about car bombs in our Western media, not because these threats have disappeared. So think the Middle East, it probably happens like still a lot. They got suicide bombers and stuff like that. But because the nature of violence and its media portrayal, it's shifted, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because car bombs, they were once, fairly, like we're talking about, fairly persistent. It's a very terrifying reality. Could you imagine just going in to go to get some groceries, then boom, you're up there with your 72 versions. Oh, no, that's somebody else.
Wrong culture.
But anyway, kind of a terrifying reality, seriously, if it's something that could happen where you're living. But now terrorism, as I'm talking about, it has different faces, right? So there's digital, there's these algorithmic things, there's psychological things. But like we've talked about, the spectacle changes, but fear's role in shaping culture never really goes away. Talk about that. Spectacles change, but fear's role in shaping our culture never really goes away. The song remains the same.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Because they have figured out the algorithm that makes, that can trigger humans. I mean, they've figured out how it all works, how it responds, how it reacts, and they know exactly what to do. So if you don't, you're going to get sucked into it.
Just imagine how many psyops have happened in the last 100 years.
We know most of them now, and they're still going on
today for sure.
I mean, clearly, they're not even trying to hide it anymore.
Well, even based on, not to get too conspiratorial, but sure is going to be interesting in the next 4 years because we had, of course, the pandemic in 2020.
Bill Gates just made a statement about the next
in 2030.
Now, he didn't say a date, but the next pandemic.
It's supposed to, like they said, that the first one was a disappointing test.
It was a trial run.
And so it's going to be interesting the next 4 years. Time to get those.
Well, and now, I mean, they're floating Trump.
What about prepping? You want to do some prepping?
Oh,
yeah. Let's do some prepping. We got a piece of land over in Alturas.
I have some
Jefferson
County. I have some in a couple different.
We're thinking about a barn dominium.
There you go.
So
yeah, I've got Colorado and New Mexico.
I got to make some more money first, though. But
I got the motorhome.
I love.
I mean, technically, I could go completely off grid if I wanted to.
So why do you think we don't actually kind of hear about car bombings anymore? Because they still happen. Not in Western. That's what I'm saying. So how come we don't
in concert
hear about them?
Because they're
because the last time this was in,
it won't serve their purposes.
British. Oh, they're okay. Okay, that answer makes sense.
Yeah. It's a local thing. It had its effect wherever it was. They don't need it globally to,
I had a little note here. I said, did they vanish? So we're saying they didn't vanish, right? So what you're saying,
it's just not the current,
What do you think about this? I wrote down, they didn't vanish, just the mechanisms of narrative change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
We didn't hear too much about stuff that's going on in different parts of the world, unless it was just like
unless it was massive plane crashes and that kind of thing. But I think what happened was they realized collateral damage like that is too expensive.
Expensive in what way?
Financially, economically,
for them,
for them. Like you blow up a car. There's a ripple effect of things that are then going to happen.
Company has to pay for
insurance. I was absolutely thinking that insurance gets involved, the banks get involved, the law enforcement gets involved, medical gets involved. I mean, it's
life insurance,
all of it, just the whole. So that starts getting complicated and expensive if you're trying to run ops using that. And back then that's what they had. We didn't have the computer.
Plus, it's like if you give the herd too much medicine, you can kill them. Right. Or they can become immune to it.
That's exactly. You have multiple effects.
You can't have too much. And it may lead to them saying, like, we need to rise up.
Well,
they're not even doing what they're supposed to do. So they can only give us so much.
Yeah. That's why they bought all the media, because that's how they do it now. They don't need to blow shit up. They just have to act like it's gonna.
Right.
And they just keep us in that suspended animation at all times. What's coming? What's coming? What's coming?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay. What about this takeaway? So the form of cultural fear evolves, but the function does not.
Right. That's a great point. That's a really good statement. I like that. Absolutely.
Kind of just went off of what you just got through saying.
Yeah, we adapt. Humans are. I mean, if nothing else, we are highly adaptable. So we learn, even though we don't, it doesn't seem to appear that way as far as intelligence goes. If you watch behavior and patterns, we do adjust and we do change.
So are you saying something that's the matter with enduring? Yeah.
Could be.
What's the matter with enduring? So when we we've looked at March 4th, 175, 50, 25 years. And, we're not just seeing kind of like these dates and headlines. here with what we're talking about, right? We're again pointing back to this. We're seeing human responses to these instances in time, and we're seeing these human responses in patterns. Fear expands their systems. When humans push back, then the truth is tested. And ultimately, Kel, at the end of the conveyor belt, another spectacle evolves. That's kind of some deep stuff right there. But again, question one, do they want to keep us in fear? Right? Why don't the 99% revolt back? Well, they've got tanks and planes, and they're displaying this in the world thing. And, there's a bunch of people, say, from Iran, and that are in the army of Iran, they're getting their ass kicked, right? So collectively, that fear of, standing up against the government for whatever reason, we can almost count on reprisals depending on the push
of course,
that the people would be. And so that fear makes them also want to keep the herd penned in. And so they expand their systems of enforcement, right? And then if we kind of get fed up and the humans push back, right, it's because our trust that we have in these establishments, whether it's the prison, right, we all, I think, agree that not all humans are good. There are some crazy ones. There are some that are just pure evil. They don't respect human life. They'll take human life. And so if we're able to contain those people, they need to be put in a cage. That's what prisons are. However, right, there are some things that, based on human behavior, when they don't hurt other people, they're only hurting themselves. There's a lot of us that say they shouldn't be in jail.
Hell no.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely not. Why are we, the taxpayers, paying to cage somebody that did something that didn't hurt anybody but them? How stupid.
And so that's where, it's just one example, but the point is that when we do push back, it's because our trust is tested, right? And so,
or broken,
right? Exactly. And then basically from that, eventually, some sort of spectacle evolves, whether it's a perp walk or somebody, getting taken out of his bed in Venezuela with his wife, and then all of a sudden he's got these VR goggles on in some helicopter. You're like, whoa, his life changed in a matter of hours, right? So
not by surprise.
Not by surprise, but anyway, interesting conversation today. What's the matter with enduring? Again, the basic, thing that we're trying to get to in the beginning is from the endurance aspect, the enduring human experience. These yahoos, they're going to just keep doing. You can almost count that they want to keep doing what they're doing, right? But the thing that's always going to endure, these things are going to stay the same. They're going to try to use fear against us. They're going to have these systems in place on how to control us. But the thing that endures, just like in the song remains the same, is our human experience. My word of advice is to, for whatever it's worth, is to try to focus on, it's easy to focus on the bad things. It's in front of our face. So any kind of final comments you want to make, or what do you think?
No, I thought this was a good one. This was interesting.
Okay. Well, I think we already talked about, kind of like what's going to happen next time, right? What we're going to kind of get into.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I guess, we're talking about different centuries. We talked about different ways of tech, different headlines that they kind of put out there for us, but the song remains the same. We're still learning how to live together, people, and learning how to manage our own agency and find meaning amid this fear, amid this spectacle, and the systems that are out there. Gosh darn it. But different decades, Kel, but the song remains the same. So, hey, everybody, thank you for listening to episode 40 of What's the Matter podcast show. And also a big thank you to our sponsor, World Matters Incorporated, and the creator and producer of the show, Big Bongo Productions. We will be back next Wednesday, unless Kel tells me something different, at the same time and the same location here in the Matterhorn studio. Episode 41. We're giving her center stage. What's the matter with astrology? I'm looking forward to this. I've been thinking about it for a while.
Yeah, this will be fun.
It is going to be fun. So I don't know if Kel's going to be recruiting a special guest. If not, we'll explore the nuances of our humanity together as star children. Right? Did I say that right?
Yep.
Yeah, star children.
Seeds.
I like it.
Star seeds and light workers.
So until then, make sure to be vigilant, be kind to each other, and always remember what you say matters. This is G-Man for Kel. Talk to you guys soon. See ya.